It's Mental Health Chat Monday, Season 2. This is the series where we sit down with a brand new guest every week to discuss their journey with mental illness and mental wellness. Because here on Mental Health Chat Monday, our motto is turning mental illness into mental wellness. I am your host, DDare Bionic. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in with us today. But I'm not why we're here. I am simply a vessel. Today we are here, I feel like that is too close to my face. Today we're here to talk to a very good friend of mine for what, like 12 years now or something like that?
Gosh.
That we met each other back at Hell.
I think I was 17, 18.
You were 17?
30 now?
Yeah, I was 19.
No, okay, if you were 19, and I'm a year older than you?
Yeah, I just turned 30 in January.
Okay, so I must have met you right when I was like 19 or 20. Like, yeah, we must have been like
somewhere in that
like
little,
10 years.
Yeah, so
like a decade.
Quite a while. Very long time. And podcast host herself.
Yes.
We'll talk about that a little bit later. Ana Hermann is here today, you all. Hello.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you.
I don't know what level of introduction you would like for this.
Just tell us a little bit about, well, I like to start these off the same way.
Yes.
Mental health check.
Yes.
Where are you? How is 2023 treating you? This episode will be coming out in Pride. Whatever. How is 2023 treating you?
Okay, well, to be fair, it was not great at all. It was rough. Mm-hmm. Like, let's see. I've gone through a breakup, but like there was like the slow death of the relationship, and I'm like a hanger-oner.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I like let that kind of also like be a big drag, and like I was having like a lot of anxiety from that, and I've been like in this huge fight with my mom.
Oh God.
And like I know that you know that I'm like usually pretty close to my mom.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, what?
Yeah, so like all of that has been happening at the beginning of the year, but then like I had this breakup. I went on this like amazing backpacking trip through Utah, and then I like met someone, and like they might be my person. Like, and like this is all like in the past like May. Amazing.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah. So good. May, great month. January through whatever the month is before May. April.
January through whatever that month is.
1 through 4. But 5?
5 and on.
Okay.
It's looking good. It's looking up.
No, it's looking like way up. Like in a way that like I didn't know was possible.
Yeah.
So, like I think actually like 2023 is gonna be really good. Mm-hmm. Because like now it's really good. Now it feels really good, right?
Now it's really going.
Yeah, so I don't know, like stuff has gone on, and I started therapy at the beginning of the year. And like that's been different. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know, like I don't know what your like specific journey through therapy is. But I was seeking therapy because I don't like to feel. I want to keep it in. Yeah. And like down.
You bottle those emotions.
Yeah, I really do. And then like it all comes out, and I'm like very angry, and then I'm like, oh, I feel so much better. Everything's good now. And then I was like, I don't think that's healthy. So I was like, I'm gonna talk to a lady or a man, whatever. And they're gonna help me be better. So I started therapy, and my first therapist was not great, but I think she just had too much on her plate. But my therapist that I have now is like amazing, and she's like really helping me like with like identifying emotions, because like sometimes I feel in my body things.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. And I'm like, we're just gonna like stop thinking about whatever that is. Like, I'll have anxiety and I have like a pit in my stomach, and or like I can feel myself like kind of like collecting myself.
Yeah.
And like recognizing that like there's physical properties of your emotions has helped me to identify the actual emotion. So like that's like kind of like the big thing that I've been working on is that.
Yeah.
And like I never cry. And like now I like let myself cry. Like I'm like, you know what? Just let a tear out, girl. Like you just do what you want. I was like, you're a free woman.
I was actually just talking with my partner about this the other day. I had a show some kind of quadruple feature show. It was the very first one. It had an amazing turnout. It was a great night. And I was feeling so many emotions. I was so overwhelmed. And I was like, I could cry. And he was like, you should cry if you want to cry. And I was like, but I'm not really a crier. Like,
same.
And like, not even in the way of like, I don't cry. Like, I never cry. But like, it's not that crying doesn't feel natural to me, because when I do cry, it feels good and cathartic. But like, just because I could cry doesn't mean I feel like...
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, am I a bad person?
And it's like, no, like, we just keep it in.
I just don't like the tears.
Yeah. Well, I also, like, I have clinically dry eyes.
So you really don't produce tears.
I just don't cry. Sometimes I'm really sad, but it's like, are you crying or are you laughing? And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't really know either.
I have feelings. So yeah, it's like, it's been interesting to like really like be more in tune with myself, and like one of the like big catalysts for like even starting therapy is like I've been having like this big argument with my mom, and she kind of just like was like, well, have a good life then. And I was like, bitch, I'm gonna have a good life, like, trust. So like to be honest, I'm a little spiteful. I have a little bit of spite. So I was like, I am gonna go have a good life, and I'm gonna like go live my life, and it's gonna be amazing. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe you're being kind of childish. Like, maybe you could like fix this a little bit, or like kind of like come to terms with like her immaturity, and like how it butts up against like my own like emotional maturity. Because like I've always, between the two of us, I've always been like the more mature, right? So like it's kind of like the wrestling with that of like she's the mom, but she's like kind of not the mom. Yeah. And like all of that stuff. So I wanted to just like start therapy to like identify my emotions better, be more emotionally mature myself, and like be able to like talk about my emotions in a way that's not like conflict, but like just like, here's how I feel. Can we do something so that like I don't feel this way? Right. Or like, this is how I feel, and it's okay to feel this way. And I recognize that a big issue that I feel like probably a lot of people have, because like, you know, even if your parents are amazing, which I do have like really good parents, like we're still fucked up. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter how much your parents love you, or how much like love they give you, or how much they care for you. Like, there's still little traumas, sometimes big traumas. And like part of that just means that like we take that on, and then like we build our armor up, and we don't let those bad things hurt us anymore. But like sometimes you have to get to the point where you're like, you need to take the armor off, and you have to like really say like, how can I be like gooey and vulnerable? Yeah. You know,
that's been one of the most difficult things for me, is vulnerability. Like, so hard. It's so hard. I'm like, and it's crazy because I grew up with a mom who I can talk to about anything. Any and everything I can talk to this woman about.
I know how close you guys are.
Yeah. And like, I literally just got off the phone with her before you got here. I was like, I'm calling you now because you have the special superpower of calling me in the middle of recording. Like, I guarantee.
Never fails.
Every single time. And I'm like, you know, we talk and laugh, and, you know, but there's this lack of trust that I have in other people that I have worked so hard in my 30 years of life to be like, okay, what is it? What is the thing that makes you not trust? Yeah. And not just not trust, but not trust people with your emotions. And, you know, I've figured out some of it. I know a lot of it has to do with my dad in that situation. But there's still, you know, the forgiveness has been forgiven. You know, we're not close, but that's going to be what it's going to be. But there's still like there's something. There's a something that's like... There's the protective coating that you have to like keep on all the time. Yeah, I feel that because like I'm very much like, I don't let people in at all. Like even like, you know, like Ambria, who you know, and we've been friends for like 18 or 20 years or something. And like,
whenever I went through this breakup with the guy that I was dating previously, and I called her, I was like literally like sobbing, like whole body, and she's never ever seen me like that.
Really?
And like literally almost like 20 years of friendship. I called, like I like to FaceTime. Like it's my preference, so I could like see people.
Yeah.
But like I like FaceTimed her, and she was like, oh my God, and like was like texting her husband and being like, okay, I need you to go to the store and get like 5 bottles of wine like right now. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with Anna, but something's wrong with Anna.
Something's really wrong right now.
Yeah, and like, but part of it was just like, all the way up until that point, you know, I've been doing like 4 months of like therapy and like really like letting myself feel. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I was immediately like apologizing. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but my life is ending.
And you know, that's one thing we got to get out of the habit of is apologizing for our...
Yes.
I don't say sorry as much.
I say it all the time. I'm so Midwestern.
No, I'm not apologizing.
Like, sorry. Oh.
Not you're gonna scooch right past you. No, I have actively worked on not apologizing for things that I don't need to apologize for.
But
especially
you have no
like,
control of.
Yeah. Well, especially like at work. Like if I can't work, if somebody asks me, hey, can you pick up the shift? Hey, can you do this? No.
Not available to
Full
you.
stop.
Yeah. That's it.
Like...
Yeah, I have to stop saying sorry. I say sorry for everything. I like drop something. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
But honestly, I say sorry to the animals too. Like if I
well, they deserve it.
I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
They deserve it. Humans.
They're like, I love you. You're the best.
Thanks so
you
much.
You feed me.
And you're like, I've killed you. I've offended you. Yeah, one big thing that helped me, and you know, I'm an artist, I'm a performer, all that good stuff. So one thing that helped me with my vulnerability was like writing. Man, there's nothing more magical than writing to me. I'm
a journaler, and I like dabble in poetry every now and then. My favorite thing is to like read poems like that, like maybe well known or not well known, doesn't matter. But I like to see like what that looks like their poem structure, and then like emulate that with my own poem. Yeah. Because like I'm not a good poet in a sense. Like I can't like think of like what it should, like how it should eke out. But when I see something, I'm like, oh, like I get it. Like there's the repetition. There's like the part where you're playing with this. I'm like, I can do that. So like I like doing my poetry. Like I'll read some poems, and I'm like, okay, I really liked this one, and then I'll kind of like write a poem based on that. And sometimes I do it in like sections and parts, and that I find like very cathartic, because it's like you don't have to, when you journal, you like, sometimes I want to be very specific, you know, but with like poetry I'm like, I know what I'm saying. And that's all that matters. Like I listen back to my songs and I'm like, I know exactly where I was when I wrote that lyric. You're like, I felt that. Yeah. Ooh, that hit. And I'm like, oh, of course it did. I wrote it. I'm like, I'm amazing. So you talked a little bit about therapy. Let's backtrack just a couple, just a little bit. Let's talk about diagnoses. Have you ever been diagnosed with anything? I have not, but I think that part of it is because like the therapist that I have seen, because I've seen, I think I've seen like 4 therapists like in my life. But they're not diagnosis therapists. So I think if I was going to have like a diagnosis of something, it would probably just be like kind of like high functioning anxiety or like low level anxiety. Like I'm very fortunate that I've never had to deal with depression. Like honestly, like we fighting in these streets, let me tell you. Yeah, like well, you know, like I think there's like a genetic component to depression, because like on my like mom's side of the family, we have like a lot of like mental illness there, with like depression, anxieties, and like bipolar. I have like a aunt who's not with us anymore, but I also didn't know her, so I'm not sad. But like she had schizophrenia. So like there's a lot going on where like I could be really messed up in the brain. I could have some really like not very good chemicals. So like in a lot of ways I'm like, wow, I'm very fortunate that like I recognize that I am an anxious person, and I have had like 2 panic attacks before. But like other than that, like I'm like, I just have like pretty like generalized anxiety, and I just put a weighted blanket on and I just lay there
Yeah.
and like let everything like touch me, and like I feel better from that. Like that's like a coping mechanism, I think. Like the guy I'm dating now, Dom, like we just like hug a lot, and I like that really feels good. Like that like connection, but also like the tightness,
the pressure.
Yeah, and like that really helps with like if I am feeling anxious, like I'm like, oh, I need a hug. Like please come hug me.
Come hug me. Thank you. My partner's kind of like that. He loves hugs.
Yeah, I mean I love hugs.
I'm a hugger too.
Everybody should hug. I feel like hugs are wonderful things.
Yeah.
I hug everyone. Like I hug all my friends. I'm like I love you. Like I tell them too. I'm like I love you. Because I think like that's important, but yeah, like no like official diagnoses, but definitely they're like, yeah, you seem anxious, and I'm like, thank you.
Like, oh, thanks. I'm not anxious. I'm just quirky.
Yeah, that's honestly what I say. Oh my God. I'm like, it was quirks.
I'm just a little quirky. That's all. I'm not like other girls.
Yeah,
I'm anxious.
I'm exactly like other girls. We're all anxious.
Yes, all the girls are anxious. That is for fucking sure. So, talk to me a little bit about. You said you've seen 4 therapists.
I think 4, 3 or 4.
Talk to me about. I feel like people shy away from therapy because they think the first therapist they see is gonna be the one.
That's got to be the one, right?
I saw one and they weren't good for me, so I can't go see another one because they're all the same. So, talk to me about how important getting the right therapist is.
I mean, I would say mega important. The reason that I recognized that I could change therapists is honestly I have a huge support system in my family, which is wonderful. But my cousin, who's like a couple of years younger than me, she's also like going through like her therapy journey, and she had gone through several therapists. And I had this therapist, and I was just like, we are not clicking. And I was like, I texted her and I go, is it rude if I just like switch and don't tell her? And she was like, fuck her. Like if she's not doing what you need, like just switch, like just do it, because like this is their job. Like they don't care about us. She was like, they care,
but to a certain extent.
Yeah, like they're required to have empathy or care for us. So like that, like I felt like that was very powerful advice of just being like this is for you. So do what's right for you and like switch. And if you don't like that person, then switch. And if you don't like that person, just switch. So I had like a therapist, like back when I was like 17 or something, just because like family stuff, and I had like some not great things happen whenever I was like young, and my parents were like, it might be good to talk about this with somebody that's not us, because they were like, we would love to know what's going on in your life, but like some things are just very personal, and like they're not necessarily like equipped to deal with like some stuff. So like I was seeing a therapist then, and I was kind of like once I was like done, which like I didn't go for a very long time. I went for like 6 months or something like that. But like after like I talked to her for a little while, I was like, I didn't feel like it was like serving me, because I had already journaled. I had already processed the whole thing. Yeah, I journaled about everything in my life up till 17. I journaled 1 through 17, and I had already processed everything, and like they wanted me to go to therapy because they were like, we think like this would help you, and I'm like, I helped myself.
Yeah, I'm good.
So like I don't think it was a negative experience at all, because she was like, oh, like very understanding, but she was also like, you just seem like you're okay, and I was like, I know, I am. I was like, I don't know that we need to like really talk about all this stuff. I was like, because it's already done. But then recently I like decided I wanted to see if I could mend this relationship with my mother, but also the fact that your relationships with your parents, good, bad, positive, negative, like how you see their relationship with like their romantic partners or even like their friends, how they interact with other people, like that's always like constantly imprinting on you. And so as like a young person, because my parents split up twice, what I saw was like my dad, who was like giving, just like giving all of himself, and my mom taking. And, I have a lot of love for her. But when you have a very selfless parent and a very selfish parent, and you see that, how it affects your relationships, you're going to be kind of one or the other.
Yeah.
Right? And I am just like my dad. And I give everything. The way I like to describe it is like, I'm giving you like one of my marbles, and I want you to keep my marble safe. And like a lot of my relationships is like, I'm like, here's my marble, and they take it and they go, fuck that marble. Like, and I'm like, oh, let me give you another marble. Like you didn't keep that one safe.
That marble wasn't good for you.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll give you another one though. And so like, that was like all of my relationships, like not like, they weren't, none of the people I dated were like horrible people or anything like that, but they just didn't care, and I was like, man, I keep picking these fucking idiots, these selfish people, and I was like, I need to meet somebody that gives as much as I give, and I was like, I don't know how to do that, because I'm not advocating for myself. I'm not saying
that part.
Yeah, I'm not saying like, you need to do this for me because I'm not happy. I'm like, I'm not happy. Like keeping it to myself, and I'm just like, maybe they'll figure out how to like make me happy. And like that's all. Like that's also a fault. Like that's me being wrong. Because like you have to communicate. You have to do it. You have to tell the people that you're with, like, this works, this doesn't work, or this made me feel this way, or the other side, like, I really appreciate that you did that. That's so important. Like do you know your 5 love languages? Do you know your hierarchies?
No.
So you have like physical touch, words of affirmation.
Oh, yes.
Quality time, gifts, and
I always forget the last one. It's
acts
like
of service.
Yeah, acts of service, yeah.
So mine for sure is physical touch, like number 1, as I'm like just like a very like cuddly, touchy person. But like the words of affirmation and the acts of service are like also 2 that I find that are really big. But the words of affirmation, not so much as like, I'm like, I don't need somebody to be like, you look so good today. Like I do appreciate that.
Yeah, it's not that. It's very different.
It's the like, thank you for doing that for me. Like I really appreciate that. And I didn't realize that like that's a big one for me. Because like I would be in these relationships with people where like I would be saying like, thank you so much for doing X, Y, and Z. Like, oh, like I appreciate that you did the dishes, or thank you for taking out my trash, or whatever. Which is like kind of acts of service, and then like telling them what you like. But like now who I'm with, like I was like, do you have your like your keys, your wallet, your phone? And he's like, thank you for reminding me. Like that's so nice. He's like, I really appreciate that you're taking the time to like just help me adult. And I was like, thank you for saying thank you. I appreciate you thanking me. I appreciate your appreciation.
Just thanking each other back and forth.
Literally, it was like a cycle of like 4.
That's so cute.
It was really funny. And then I was like, we have to stop.
Like
finished.
We've thanked.
Yeah. But like that was like also something that like as I was going through therapy and I was in this relationship with this other guy, I was like, he's not doing these things. Like his love language was like acts of service. Like he would do nice things for me, which I appreciated. And I told him, like I wasn't like holding it back. I was like, oh my gosh, like thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But like he like couldn't reciprocate anything at all. Like he couldn't say thank you. Was like very like touch averse, I would say. Like I don't think that he minded that like I was craving a lot of touch, and so like I would be touching him, but it was never like him reaching out to do it. Like because like I'm like, I want to hold your hand, I want to be wrapped around you like a tree. And he would be like, we can touch. And like I would be like, this is not enough.
He's like, you're satisfied, right? You're good? Good? No, please.
And then I fell into the trap of like not saying like, this is not good. So therapy.
Therapy
helps.
And honestly, this is a good spot for us to stop and hear a word from our sponsor. Today's episode of Mental Health Chat Monday is brought to you by BetterHelp. With BetterHelp, the world's largest 100% online therapy service, you can get connected with a therapist in a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists to help you with a wide range of issues. When I signed up for BetterHelp, I was able to specify exactly what I was looking for in a therapist, and I was matched with a therapist that suited my needs. To get started, all you do is answer a few questions about your therapy needs and preferences. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the perfect therapist from their network. From there, contacting your therapist is easy. Call, chat, video call, or text, whatever is more comfortable for you. Message your therapist at any time to set up live sessions when it's convenient for you. And the coolest thing about BetterHelp is that if your therapist doesn't match for any reason at all, you can switch to a brand new therapist at no additional charge. Affordability, online access at your own pace, custom pick therapists. That sounds like my kind of therapy. And what luck you have. You can get 10% off your very first month of BetterHelp using my link, betterhelp.com/MHCM. That's betterhelp.com/MHCM. Now go ahead and get yourself some therapy, baby. And thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Thank you so much to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you click the link in the description. You know how that works. Back into the episode, though. Yes. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your podcast because it is, I feel like you had a different podcast before.
Yes, I did.
What was that one?
So that was kind of like a podcast like about some of my different travels that I've done.
Right.
And I did that with like a co-host. Mm-hmm. We had a big falling out.
Yikes.
And it really wasn't, honestly, it had nothing to do with me. And I don't say that like being like, I'm perfect. It was just like, she was going through a lot, mm-hmm. and the way that she processes stuff is by taking it out on other people, mm-hmm. and I was not the only person that was on the warpath. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of like, I don't like this. And so I was like, look, we're not going to do this anymore. I'm going to delete the podcast. I'm like, I don't really want to be tied to you in any way. And like, I suspect that she has really mean things to say about me, but I was just like, I pulled a T-Swift. I was like, I would like to be excluded from this narrative because this has literally nothing to do with me. I was like, you don't live in my house anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you're out living your life. You're having things go on that has nothing to do with me, myself, my feelings about you, or mm-hmm. anything. So like, I was just kind of like,
backing away from it.
Yeah, and like, I have like a lot of like, I mean, obviously we've known each other for a very long time, mm-hmm. and Shisha too, and like, I feel like I friend really hard. Mm-hmm. Like, once I like somebody, I'm like, you're now mine. Yeah. I'm gonna keep you for like as long as possible. And like, I was like, I felt like we were really good friends, but like, she was keeping all of this like stuff inside. And like a lot of resentment towards me that I didn't know because like she hadn't expressed it, and I was just like, if you don't tell, like, I feel like sometimes like a little bit like I'm a boy, like, or I'm like, if you don't tell me, I just don't know.
But that is just true of all human beings.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not expressing to me that you have an issue, that you have a problem,
everything's hunky dory.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Like. It's just like at work. If you got a problem, don't wait until you want to write me up about it.
Yeah.
Like, tell me but in advance.
Yes.
So that I can either decide that I want to correct the issue or decide that I want to separate from the issue.
Yes. So we had this falling out, mm-hmm. and it was just kind of like one of those things where like I talked to like a lot of my other friends that like also knew her, and I was like, Am I the crazy one?
Am I the asshole?
I was like, should I put this on like a Reddit forum and like really see like if I am the asshole? And like I kind of like before I even asked people, I had already decided I wasn't the asshole, but mm-hmm. I was like, confirm this for me. And like everybody was kind of like, no, like you're definitely not being the asshole here. It just kind of sounds like you got attacked.
Yeah.
And so like I just kind of was like, I can't be friends with her. But had always wanted to start the podcast that I have now. I've been thinking about it for like, I don't know, 7 years probably. Because basically, when I was in 4th grade, I had a teacher, Miss Kovac, and she was working on her master's, I think. And part of like her schooling was that she had to like kind of do a project where she had like the kids talk about like how they learned stuff from her. And so like we like this is really gonna date me, but like I recorded on a cassette how I like talked about how I learned math from her. And it was kind of like a powerful moment because up until that point, up until like 4th grade, had all these teachers that were like, well, you're a girl, so like if you're not good at math, like that's pretty typical. Like you're just like, well, women just aren't good at math. And she was like, okay, well, first of all, there's like amazing women mathematicians. And like she kind of like, if I'm remembering this correctly, she only had the girls in the class do this. And it was like very powerful because she's like, here are all of these like amazing women that like you guys are never going to hear about because we live in a patriarchal society and like all we want to talk about is like, you know, like Einstein and Galileo and Newton. It's like men. Who didn't really
do shit.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them did, but like,
I mean, clearly they did stuff, but they did stuff on the backs of women. I mean, Albert Einstein never would have like figured out what he figured out that was like the part that helps with the creation of the nuclear bomb without the work of Marie Curie. Like the theory of radiation didn't exist before her. So like it's like, yeah, Albert Einstein's great, but like the mother of radiation.
Great because of.
Yeah, so it's like I had this like teacher that was like, there are women that you will never know about because we don't talk about them. And like on top of that, there are women of color that we will never ever know about because they are never written about. Because even in the writing of the stories of women, the focus is almost exclusively going to be on the stories of white women. And like that is also not okay. So like I want to talk about women who have done things, women of like different backgrounds, women who have different skin tones, come from different places on the planet. Like I just did an episode on a woman from South America, from Guatemala, and like that's like the sort of story like I don't think anybody knows about Rigoberta Menchú, who won a Nobel Prize for like her crusade to like get the indigenous people of Guatemala like their freedom and justice for like the atrocious genocide that occurred there. Like
no.
Like I would
this is new information to me.
Like I would love to meet somebody who also knows about Rigoberta.
Yeah.
Because like you just don't hear about it, but like holy moly, like right? Like you know, she was like, my people are dying and I'm gonna do something about it. And so she did, and like we don't talk about it, especially in America, where like we don't talk about anything that happens outside of America.
Well, yeah, and we don't talk about revolution.
No,
in any way. Like, sure, we can talk about the white revolutions, but they're not really revolutions. It's like white people rebelling against amorphous thing that is wrong. Against people who were already here living. Against enslaving other people. Like I don't like that's not a revolution, babe.
There's like, you know, it's like the history that we talk about is always going to exclusively be white men's history, and then if it's not white men's history, it's going to be white women's history. But it's like it's so much more than that, and like the interconnectedness of like all of these different women's movements that are happening in every continent except for maybe Antarctica. Though there are people there. There's like five. There's 5 people there. At least. Yeah. So like they probably have like stuff going on, I would think. But like it's there's so much that women are doing, they're attempting to do, that they're trying to just like help other people. Like one of the books that I read that I thought was really powerful was, oh fuck, I don't remember what the book was called. I'm gonna have to look it up.
It's okay.
But like, so it just talks about like the data gap of like, all of our data is about white men, which is like so toxic, especially in like a medical sense.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
Because like if you're looking at like kidney function for people, all of our statistics are based on white men. So your numbers are going to be off if you're a black man. And that means that if you need a kidney transplant, black men are oftentimes going to be excluded from getting kidney transplants because their numbers are based on the numbers of white men. And that is heinous.
People really don't realize how inequitable just healthcare is between
healthcare.
White people and black people.
Yes.
Like,
it's a huge chasm.
And people wonder why black people specifically are like, I want a black doctor. We were experimented on, first of all. There was no, and they weren't using these experiments to be like, okay, black people feel this way.
No.
No.
They were doing experiments because they felt entitled to do experiments.
Yeah.
And like the field of gynecology is based on a white male doctor doing experiments on black women, which is like something that we have to reckon with.
Yeah.
And we have to talk about, because if we don't talk about it and we push that stuff under the rug, there are going to be generations forward from us that are like, all of this is hunky-dory. Like, this is just the way people are treated. And it's like, we don't have to do that.
Well, that's where we are right now. It's been that way for so long. People are just like,
well, what are we going to do? It's like, fucking keep fighting.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw out every single book that exists right now that is a medical book, a history book, anything that is teaching a student about the past of the United States. Throw it away. Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Like, and like, there's the part where you're, as a young person, you're sitting in class and like all of the names in your books are going to be the names of men, and they're going to be white men, and we're not going to talk about black people, we're not going to talk about brown people, we're not going to talk about indigenous people. All of that is just like, well, we don't know their names. It's like, but we do.
But we do.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
You're just choosing not to do something about it. And in this particular book that I read, it talks about the data gap between men and women, and one of like the starkest things that like she talks about in this book is just like the fact that like the way we clean our streets is so men can get to work. So when the snow plow goes through, it's like, here are the paths that men take to get to work, but they're not cleaning the stuff that is so women can get to their elderly parents, because that's one of the areas that women oftentimes take over. Like, men obviously do take care of like their parents, but
it's always women.
But it's typically women. It's like 90% women.
Yeah.
Like, you could talk about like the housing crisis in Brazil, and like how it basically changed how women interact with each other, because they like basically took all of these people out of like their social circles, because they're like, we want to build stuff here, so you're going to move into this other apartment, which is kind of like what happened with Pruitt Ego, the projects buildings that were up in North County a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or like in Chicago, like Cabrini Green.
Yeah.
And like
gentrification.
Yeah, so like there's the gentrification that happens severely affects women almost predominantly, where men are kind of like, well, I have a car, I can get to where I need to go, like if I move, like whatever, like she'll still be home to take care of the house.
Right.
So like there's all this like nuanced stuff that like I think men don't necessarily know unless they're educated on it. And it's like, those are the things I want to talk about, is like, look at what women can do. First of all, like they can do like really fucking amazing things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, one of the women I talked about is like a Jewish resistance fighter in like the Nazi occupied Netherlands, and like she did amazing work. But like in reading about her, I read about several women that were like the resistance fighters in like Poland and in Paris and in the Netherlands, and it's like, you don't hear about the women, like there's no movies about the women. You get Saving Private Ryan, it's like explosions and men being heroic, and there's like not a single conversation between two women.
Yeah, at all.
That's not like, even if there, I don't even know if there is women. There's got to be like at least one woman in that. I haven't watched it in a long time. I don't think there
are any women in that movie.
Yeah, there might not be. But
wow, I didn't even think about that.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite movies, like one of my favorite series of all time is like Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. But it's like, if you like the whole series, two women talking to each other, it's like a mom to like a child, and that's it. That's it. Other than that, there's no women interacting with other women. Mm-hmm. And like, I love the movies, but I'm also like, you did a huge disservice. Yeah. Because like, women's stories matter. So that's what the pod is about.
First of all, thank you for the work you're doing. First and foremost.
Tried.
Yes. I will obviously link all that down below. But I want to talk. I brought up the podcast because I know for me, doing this podcast is very healing and cathartic. Yes. So how does the work you're doing, the absolutely fabulous and amazing work you're doing, how does that affect your mental health, and how does that imprint on you? So, like, some of it is difficult, just because, like, oftentimes women's stories are going to be marked with, like, either emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. Like, women live with that every day, like, the threat of that, but also, like, oftentimes they are just living in these situations where, like, they are affected by these things. And, like, because I'm reading about these women and I'm, like, having to take in I'm taking in their life. Yeah. Like, that part can be very hard to where, like, sometimes I, like, set it down because I'm like, oh, like, girl, you went through some stuff. And like, my most recent episode was on Anne Sexton, who's like a very complicated subject, because while she wrote like this beautiful, amazing poetry, and people like really championed her, when she killed herself, afterwards, they kind of like released some stuff posthumously, and it was kind of uncovered that she was not like directly sexually abusing her daughter, but like there was like some stuff that was like very not okay. And the reality is, like, if she had been a man, she would have been canceled. Like, this would not have been something that like that we would have like chosen to overlook. But she had all of this like trauma in her life, and that trauma went on to how she was re-traumatizing her own children, because like she didn't know better, part of it, and like maybe she did know better, but she just didn't know how to get out of like that cycle. And like, so that, like, I was like, it's so hard to, like, you have like somebody that you want to be like, here's like the positive stuff, but also it's like, I have to talk about the negative stuff. You have to talk about that, I think, because we're all dealing with the negative stuff too. So like, part of sometimes I'm like, okay, like, we gotta set this down for a minute and just like kind of like think on this. And part of it is like, how do I present this information? Because like, ultimately, like, we are all flawed. We're flawed people. So like, even if you're presenting like the best version of yourself, like, you still have like these kind of like deep flaws that you're always going to be like dealing with, and it's just like, how do you get over that? So I try to like present things in a way that like, you're the neutral party. Yeah, like, take this information as you will. You don't have to love her, but it's important to know her. Yeah. So, because like, she was like part of like pushing the first wave of feminism into the second wave of feminism, and like, that's a big role. That's a big person to be. Yeah. So yeah, it was like, I really struggled with like that episode, because I just didn't know. That was the other part, is like, I had no idea. Yeah. All I knew is that, like, she wrote a lot of poetry. It was like very powerful stuff. People really, they were either into it, or they were like, women don't talk about this. But yeah, so I was like, this is it's like a good episode, but like, it makes you feel bad. Yeah. So yeah, it's like, so the part that I have to deal with is like kind of removing myself from their life too, after like having like taken all of this in, and then I'm like,
I got a lot of stuff to talk about with my therapist.
I got a lot to unpack this week.
Yeah.
I hope you're ready for a long session.
Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that same kind of thing with this and hearing everybody's story, and especially when it's family or like somebody that I've been close to for a long time. And when I go back and watch them, because I do edit these myself, you go back and watch and you listen and you uncover things that you heard in the moment that
but you didn't process.
But you were like,
yeah.
And then I'm like, shit. Good God, what is life even about? I don't think people realize how difficult making a podcast is, and like how, especially when you're doing work like talking about mental health or delivering this information about women that nobody knows, that nobody is even taking the time to look up. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work because like all the stuff that you have to do, just like even like in the preparation, but also like the post too. And then you're like listening to it back and you're like, did I really sound like that? Is that my voice? I was thinking about Eartha Kitt in what's that movie, Emperor's New Groove, when she gets turned into the cat and she's like, is that my voice?
Yeah, he's not.
Yes. So your other podcast was about travel, and I know that you travel a lot, and you can open the episode talking about your trip backpacking through Utah.
Yes.
Talk to me about how travel affects you and how it has opened you up, because you're so well traveled.
I mean, when I grew up, like when my parents were together, they didn't have like a lot of money, but they did a lot of stuff with us. Like that was like the cheap stuff. Like, so we would like go camping all the time. I loved to camp. Like me and my dad would go like spelunking in caves and stuff. And we would just like hike all over. And like, I guess like a big thing for me, especially like a lot of my traveling is to like go out and be in nature. Like I would say like my favorite thing to say is like I'm gonna go worship at the altar of Mother Nature. That's what I want to do. Like when I drive through the mountains, I sob. When I drive through the desert, I sob. Like if I'm somewhere beautiful, like if I'm in a rainforest, sob. Like because it's like there's so much beauty in the world, and like from a young age it was really like instilled in me like the respect for nature, the fact that like you can be out in nature and like not have all of this the noise, the distraction, and you can literally just like you can be your most goblin self. You know, like you can just like if you're camping for a weekend, like you don't have to take a shower if you don't want to. You can be stinky because you're gonna be stinky the next day anyways, right? You're just gonna sweat and you can just jump in a river or whatever. So like a lot of like the times that I'm traveling is like I want to go to a place where I can find like that really like deep beauty. And like to be fair, everywhere I've been, I'm like city, like out in the wilderness, doesn't matter. I'm always like, I can move here. I can live here. Like I went to LA and I was like, I love LA. I'm like, you can see the mountains, you got the beach, there's water, there's drugs. I have a friend that lives out there, and like California is one of my favorite states. Like I've been all over Europe, and like all of Europe is really pretty. Europe is really walkable, which is like really good for me because I like part of my traveling is like also like I'm moving my body a lot, and I'm like really in tune with my body. And then like all of my hiking trips, because I've done like the Smokies, I've been up in Wyoming and Montana, and I've been in California, and I did the Grand Canyon. I go hiking and like I've gone hiking in Mexico, and like I like being out. There's something about the color green. Like when you see it, your body makes happy hormones. I'm not sure which ones, but like I'm not sure if it's dopamine or serotonin, but like something happens where like good stuff.
Green's my favorite color, so I get it. Yeah,
it's like you go out in nature and then like all of a sudden like you do feel better, you know? So part of it is like I want to be out in nature. I want to just like love nature. I want to like be in it. And like I am not a super phone person. Like, you know, I have all my social media and stuff like that. And like I use it like with a good amount of frequency, but I just post stuff and I'm like, into the universe you are.
Goodbye.
Yeah. So like when I go like on this particular trip that I went on, it was like a 4-day backpacking trip. So we like hike into the gulch, camp down in the gulch. We had to like hike our food in. We had to hike our solid waste out, which I had never done before. So you like literally had to like poop in a bag.
Oh God.
And like wrap it up and like carry it out. And I'm a good pooper, so like my bag was heavy.
Very regular over here.
Yeah. I was like, I am healthy. I literally had to ask like another, like she was like not regular, and she's like, I got an extra bag, and I was like, fucking give it to me. I was like, I need this. And like all the food I hiked out, I still brought all that weight out.
Packs were the same going out and coming in.
Like everybody was like, your bag is so heavy, and I was like, it's just shit, guys. It's so much.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But like it's like 4 days no service. I had my phone so I could take pictures, but like I just put it on airplane mode, which my phone lasted 4 days no charge on airplane mode.
Holy
like
shit.
That's wild, right? And I brought like my fancy camera because I love to take pictures. But they like don't do it justice, of course, other than like just being there for real. But there's like something about just like you're down, like you're walking the earth, you're in the water, like Mother Earth is there with you. Like you can feel like the wind, you can feel like the heat on your skin, like walking through the water, like just like literally like just sitting like in like on a sandy side, or like sitting in the dirt, and you're just like eating like hummus and like I don't know, there's something about it that's like very healing in a way that like it's like not an experience I would get from like talking to a therapist. Yeah. But it's like my body is strong. My body is capable. Like she's taking care of me and I'm taking care of her. And like that's the thing I love about like nature and like getting out there. And like I went to camp for 5 years where I was like I would be away for like a month from my family. And one of like my very good girlfriends from camp, she's also like a really big hiker. She's like still here in St. Louis. But like we still stay like connected on Instagram and stuff because she does, she's part of the Black people hiking group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she does like a lot of stuff with them. And like we're always like, I love your trip. And she's like, I feel so healed. And I'm like, I feel so healed. Yeah. Because it's like, it is true. If you enjoy it, it's so healing. It's like it's powerful.
I've only ever been on one true hike.
Oh, I could take you hiking.
And it was fine. My coworkers have wanted to start a hiking group now that the weather's starting to get better. And like,
now it's turned. Now it's too hot.
It's too late now. Yeah. They're like, are you going to come? And I'm like, sure. And it's because I'm opposed to hiking because I like being out in nature as well. And like, part of being Black is not being outside. We don't do that.
But also like that's something that white people have like also enforced.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely.
In a disgusting way.
Yeah, and I've been actively working against that. Like that's one thing where I like being outside. I like being in nature. I don't like bugs.
I don't like bugs.
I'm not gonna camp. That's a hard pass for me. Cabin, absolutely. Yeah. If there is running water and I just need a shower and a toilet. Yes, and a bed. Shower, toilet, bed, and walls. Cannot sleep outside. Like when I was a Boy Scout, for probably 2 years, and I think like I joined the Boy Scouts because I thought I was going to get to sell Girl Scout cookies. Full disclosure.
No, you sold popcorn?
I could not tell you because I dropped out before we got to selling anything. Because they were like, all right, our next excursion is going to be camping. And we left. And I turned to my mom and I was like, Mom, I'm never going back.
Absolutely.
I will not camp. Like,
that's fair.
And, it's whatever, maybe one day I will camp. But I feel the one time that I was like, this is everything I've ever needed. I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was standing at the top of the... I totally understand now. Yeah, I was standing at the top of the Sandias Mountains, and I was by myself. And I was like, I'm going to hike the mountains. But it was too late in the day. If it had been earlier in the day, I would have tried it myself. There was an easy trail to hike down. but I also had never hiked before. It was getting really, really late and dark, and I
you're at elevation.
Yes, and I like hiked a little bit into the woods, and I was like, I'm just gonna go back to where I was, just because I don't want to put myself in danger.
Yeah, you don't want to like put yourself in a situation where you feel not okay.
Exactly, but just walking into those woods was like,
yeah.
And it was wintertime. My birthday's in January. It was during my birthday. So it was like, everything was kind of dead, but it's New Mexico, so nothing's really dead in New Mexico. And that feeling that you described, that Mother Earth being, I was standing on top of these mountains, watching the sunset, and I was like, sob.
Yeah. That would be me.
It was truly a transcendent experience.
Yes.
It really, and I'm sure that I will have many more experiences like that in the woods, but I will never have that experience again.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's like your first time like seeing something like really beautiful and untouched.
Yeah.
Like that is powerful. And you don't get that as much here because so much of the Midwest is like inhabited.
Yeah.
But like when you get out in like the mountains and when you get out in the desert, it's like you can look for 100 miles everywhere and you're not going to see another person. And like, oh, fuck,
yes,
beautiful.
Yes, thank you. Oh my God.
No people.
Yeah, we are looking to move out of St. Louis and looking somewhere in
I want to move to the
mountainous
desert.
region. Yeah,
I'm like, I want to be no humidity, no humans.
No humidity, no humans, no goddamn pollen.
Yeah,
I'm sick of it. I don't want to take an allergy pill every day, Mom.
I do. I take an allergy pill every day.
Every morning.
Every morning I wake up, and if I forgot it yesterday, and I was like, my hands are so itchy.
Why am I itchy? What's happening? Why can't I breathe?
And I was like, oh yeah.
Forgot to take my allergy pill. Yep.
Yeah.
Every morning.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that like, if you have the chance to enjoy it, like if you're given the opportunity to enjoy it, like nature is so healing and powerful, and like Mama Earth is here to take care of us, and we need to take care of her. And like, I'm like very much like leave no trace, whatever, like do what you're supposed to do to like I pick up trash when I'm like hiking. I'm like, I have like literally just like a trash bag that's in my backpack, so for other people being terrible, but yeah, like the trip that I took, this one in Utah, I hiked solo for a little bit. I did like a 1 day solo hike where I was going to be coming back to like my hotel, and like that by itself, I was like, like part of it was like part of it is like as a woman, like we don't do a lot of things alone. That's a big part. But like doing this alone and like hiking alone, and like I met other hikers. Like there was, it was a popular park, but like I felt like really powerful, to just like I hiked, like I climbed down into like a cave by myself, and like I don't do things like that. Like I usually I went to Elephant Rock this like past weekend, and like I don't climb on stuff typically, but like I was like I had somebody with me, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna fall. I had Dom with me, and like he was like, you're gonna be okay, and I was like, I am not gonna be okay.
I am very much not okay.
Yeah. But like when I was in Utah, I was like, I don't have anybody here with me. Like I just went by myself, and I was like, I want to go look in that cave. Like so I climbed down, and it was tough, and like I was using like muscles in my body that like I don't normally use. But then I got finished with my hike, and I was like, you're a fucking badass. Like you know how to do stuff, and like your arms are really long. I'm like, arr.
You got this. That's beautiful. That's so amazing. And
then I did a horseback ride in Bryce Canyon, which was fucking amazing. It was beautiful. I loved that because I did horseback riding for several years, which also I did like at one point I volunteered doing a horse therapy thing. I'm like, I think horses are very therapeutic. I think animals are very therapeutic. Just because like they're not good. They just love us. Yeah. And you can just tell them stuff. Yeah. And like they're not gonna say anything. They keep secrets. They're secret keepers.
Well, they might tell their other horse friends, but like
I don't understand horse.
Yeah, I don't speak horse.
I haven't learned that yet.
Oh my God. I can't wait to start traveling again. We went to New Orleans last year for my partner's birthday.
I'm so jelly. I definitely want to go.
we're talking about a magical city. I don't know how much you believe in witchcraft and magic and all that good stuff, but whew, baby.
I have a ghost in my house, so like I'm not like a full like, you know, crystals aren't gonna make things happen, I don't think necessarily, but like
go to New Orleans. All I have to say is go to New Orleans. You'll get a whole new perspective on the idea and concept of magic. It's not what people think. Okay. And the magic in New Orleans, if you go for the right reasons, and I say that because, you know, a lot of people go to New Orleans just to get drunk.
And I'm not doing that anymore.
And that's not my gig at all. And that's no shade.
No
That
shade.
is no shade to anybody that goes to get drunk.
I used to
turn up. Yeah.
Now I'm a little more relaxed.
A little more, and I want to experience the city.
And I want to eat.
Yes. Oof, the food there is so good. But like, the second we got into the city, it was like transformative. It is, the energy of the city is so ancient, and you can feel how old it is. And you can also feel how black it is. And that was like I just felt very comfortable in New Orleans the entire time I was there.
Yeah.
The entire time. It's a beautiful city. I highly recommend it.
Well, I mean, it's 100% on my list for sure. I want to go when it's slightly less humid, probably. But I don't know if it's ever going to be less humid.
Well, we went the week. So my partner's birthday is May 13th. We went. I think we got there the day before his birthday, and we left a couple days after his birthday, and it was like perfect. Okay. Yeah. The day we were leaving, it was starting to get humid and gross, and it was like, we're leaving, bye. But like the 4 or however many days we were there, it was gorgeous every single day.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like to be fair, when I travel, I feel like I literally always go when it's the best weather. To the point where like sometimes I get places and like the locals will be like, oh, like, you're not from here, like, you know, what do you think? And I'm like, this has been like the most beautiful. And they're like, it's never like this.
It's never like this.
And I'm like, I brought it.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I came and I brought all the goodness with me.
Yeah. Like, I went to Seattle. Like, I've been to Seattle 3 or maybe 4 times. And every time I've gone, it's like the most beautiful, sunny, amazing days. Like, cloudless, amazing. And everybody's like, this is not how it normally is. Please do not move here.
Right. It's usually raining.
And I'm like, but I love the rain.
Yeah, I love rain.
Like, I want to be depressed. No, like, not really.
But, you know, a little melancholy never hurt nobody.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because I'm like pale, so I'm like, I need some shade.
Some protectant, yeah. So I've got a couple more questions for you, and we'll wrap this up.
Yes.
Here on Mental Health Chat Monday, we have a motto. We said it at the beginning: turning mental illness into mental wellness. What does mental wellness look like to you?
Well, I feel like if you'd asked me like a couple months ago, I would have literally just been like not being anxious would be like mental wellness for me, because like I was really, really anxious, like especially at the beginning of the year. But like now I feel like very different. I feel like mental wellness is like being able to communicate how you feel, and like not even like being succinct, just like being able to like really talk about how you're feeling about stuff, and like presenting that to like the people that you want to know it in a way that like they can understand where you're coming from, and like not necessarily like being being honest, but without being like hurtful. Because I think sometimes I'm too honest.
Too blunt.
I'm too blunt. So like, you know, presenting how you're feeling in a nuanced way that like captures the picture, but like, you know, like I think that's mental wellness. Like really having like the ability to be like, this is how I feel. And like that being okay, like giving that to somebody and then them being like, oh, thank you. Like, I want to talk about this with you. So like, I feel like mental wellness is like going to be, you know, having like these really close relationships with people that you feel safe with, and that you can like tell them like the truth. Like that's going to be your mental, being truthful to yourself, being truthful with others. Like that's the best. Like I live very like honestly. I hate lying. I just like, I don't, if I have to lie, I'd rather just like lie by omission, like just not say anything, because I really don't want to say something that's not true, you know? So like I think like truthfulness is wellness, honesty is wellness.
I love that.
Yeah.
And our last question is not really a question. It's leave us with a piece of advice for allies of the mental health community. How can they be in our corner?
I think like the biggest thing is that if you're with somebody who isn't taking the time to understand you, don't continue to try to make them be the person that's going to understand you, right? Mm-hmm. So like we're all going to come into contact with people in our lives, and some of those people are just not going to be where you are, right? And oftentimes what that means is that you're in relationships with emotionally immature people, or you have friendships with emotionally immature people, and that can look like you're not getting what you can. So like if you really want to try, if you really want to like help somebody, like listening is the best part, and like really like taking in what they're saying, because like sometimes we don't listen. Like we hear
but we don't
and
listen.
We go, oh well, that was your experience, here's an experience I had, and like in a way that is comforting. Like you're saying like, here's how we went through the same thing. But sometimes that means saying like, I appreciate that you felt like you could be this truthful and open and honest with me, and like I feel what you feel, like I'm empathizing with you, and like that's like that I think is more important, like the actually listening and not I was gonna say imprinting, not imposing like your own stuff, because like sometimes it's just like this person had a trauma and they just want to release it. So like if you want to be an ally, just don't be like, how does this apply to me? Be like, I feel your feelings. I empathize with you. I appreciate that you like brought that to me, and like that's it. Like that's all you have to do. Like you just have to like take it in, and then like not have anything else.
One of my favorite things to say to people when they share something openly with me is stolen.
I love stolen.
Stolen from a book franchise / movie franchise, the Divergent series. Yeah. They have the factions or whatever. One of the factions is candor. And I love to tell people, thank you for your candor. Yeah. Like.
And like, that's beautiful.
Thank you for your candor. Thank you for trusting me enough to share that with me.
Yeah. Because like, that's your allyship. Is like, thank you for trusting me. Yeah. That's it. Like.
And a lot of people, I feel like we are trained to try and relate to each other so much that we are just like, okay, the only way I can tell this person that I know what they're going through is by telling them my own experience. And I catch myself doing it sometimes too. I'm like,
I try to stop doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I talk about myself too much. And I use a lot of I statements. And it's because I'm conceited. But it's also because I'm like, okay, I relate to you.
They tell us to use I statements. That's the big thing. They're like, yeah, use an I statement. Yep. Don't use a you statement. Use an I statement.
Exactly. But sometimes you just have to be like, thank you.
Yeah. I'm like, I literally, like, usually the thing I say is like, I'm like, thank you for feeling that you could trust me and being so open and honest and like being so emotionally vulnerable. I'm like, and then hug.
Yeah, and then hug. Like, yep, that's me too. Like, thank you. Can I hug you?
Yeah, that's it. Like that's my big thing. I think it's like that's how you help others. It's just like bringing them comfort. Yeah. So that's.
Oh my God! Thank you so much for being here today. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been so long. I need you to plug your podcast so everybody knows where to find it.
Okay. So if you want to find my podcast, it is Rebel Women Podcast. Let's see. On Instagram, it's gonna be Rebel Women Podcast, and on TikTok, though I'm not super good at my TikTok right now. And then on Twitter, it's Rebel Women _pod. I don't know if you've heard of Good Pods.
No, I have not.
So basically, it's like Goodreads, where you can like go and like rate every episode. Oh. And like people can like comment like, oh, I really liked this episode specifically. And when they do stuff like that, it ends up on like the global feed. So other people can find your podcast. And like every time you rate and review an episode, it pops up on the global feed for every person who uses it to go find it. So I always say, especially for you too, like, go on Good Pods, rate the episodes, tell me you love me.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
But yeah, so you can find Rebel Woman podcast on Good Pods, on Spotify, Apple, Podbean, blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's like it links to everything. And I have a website, rebelwomenpodcast.com.
Yes.
And I post like my notes, my sources, like stuff about my life if I've got like things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's a good place to like find out like what's up, what's happening. But yeah, it's like I really love it. I think I've done a good job so far.
I think so too. Yes.
And you did a good job because you did the music.
Oh God, yeah, I did. I did the music in the beginning. I've been making a lot of music lately. Like, I told myself I wasn't going to put out any music this year.
I know you said
That's
that.
a lie. Clearly, I have a song coming out on this episode. Actually, will come out. My song will be out next week. So go stream Melanin featuring Lana J.
Hey.
But I said I wasn't going to put out any music this year, and then I got involved with the show that I'm directing called A Color Funeral. And it's very music-centric. Not very music-centric, but there's a lot of... You can't have a black show without music.
Yeah, it's like music is feeling.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a lot of music in the show that needed to be created. And I was like, okay, I'll take on this task of making all this music. And it has inspired me in so many ways that I'm just like, God damn it, I guess I'm putting out music this year. Shit.
But it's like... It's good to be to feel the creative juice. Like if you're not feeling it, that would be fine too. But like the fact that you're feeling it, like full dive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Into the pool.
I've already like the images, everything. Like
good.
The second I started writing this music and writing these songs, I was like, oh God, I see a whole concept. I already know what's gonna be. I'm like, oh my God, I see all the imagery. That's how I am when I'm like in album mode. Which this is not gonna be an album, just an EP, but.
What is the difference? No, you can tell me later.
The difference is just in limited play or an LP is like a full album, so like 7 or more tracks.
Okay.
An EP extended play is usually shorter. It's 4 or 5 or 6 tracks.
Okay.
But yeah, it
came out of you.
Yeah, it really did.
That's good.
I'm crazy.
That's wonderful.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Anna, for being here today. I will link all of the links and everything to find Rebel Woman Podcast down below. Make sure you check it out. It is absolutely delightful. And I will see you all next week with a brand new episode. Of course, if you want to find me, I am at DDare Bionic on everything. It's called branding. Look it up. And I will see you all next week. Bye.